Kevin.
Hi.
I wrote to you about writing introductions to your podcast, but I figured I would try to do one of the intros for you. Shamala hamala, my shriveled little pork chops. Got your son in your parachute pants? Then you're ready to call Kevin. Now here's your host, our man in the caftan, Kevin James Thornton.
Here it is, the first episode of the brand new Call Kevin. This is a podcast I've made a couple attempts in the past, but third time's a charm. I think I've got it all together. I'm really excited about this show where you actually don't call, you go to my website, kevinjamesthornton.com, and record a little message. And then each week I will respond or answer your questions. What you just heard was someone being very creative and recording a little intro for me. So I think I love that idea. Maybe you could record next week's intro. Or if no one does it, I'll have to use ChatGPT. Let's see what that would sound like. Hey, will you give me an intro for my podcast? Introduce yourself, introduce the podcast, and introduce me.
Sure, I'd love to help. How about something like this? Hey everyone, welcome to Call Kevin. I'm your host, Kevin James Thornton. Today, I've got a special guest joining us. Why don't you introduce yourself? Does that sound good to you?
No, I want you to introduce yourself and then actually do an intro for my podcast. Would you do that, but with a little more enthusiasm in your voice?
Absolutely. Let's try this. Hey everyone, this is Walter. Welcome to Call Kevin, the podcast where we dive into all sorts of fun and thoughtful conversations. And now, here's your host, the one and only Kevin James Thornton. How does that sound?
That was really nice, the one and only. Hey, will you do one more? But will you be like over the top enthusiastic, like sound crazy? Like I want people to wonder what's wrong with you.
Got it. Here we go. Hey everyone, this is Walter, and you're listening to Call Kevin, the most amazing podcast on the planet. Get ready for some incredible conversations with...
Oh.
Glad you liked it.
Oh, okay. Wow. He just stopped mid-sentence. That was crazy. All right. Here's how it goes. We just listen to your messages. This is going to be rough, you guys. I am using this new system to record this. I'm all by myself in my house. My cat's asleep on the bed right over there. So there's going to be lots of mistakes. And one of the things I told myself it's hard to keep a weekly podcast going. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of preparation. So I told myself I was not going to be a perfectionist. And if there's mistakes, there's mistakes. That's just what it is. So with that said, let's take our first message.
Hey, Kevin, this is Denise in Savannah. I'm just curious as to what music videos really freaked you out when you were a kid, back when MTV was new. Or did you even have MTV? I'm curious because I know that you grew up in a churchly environment when you were young. But I want to know, what were the music videos that you got to sneak and watch and that really freaked you out? One of them for me was Herbie Hancock's Rocket video, and I still have nightmares to this day.
Oh, I remember that video. It was really weird. There were like mannequin legs that were like walking in a circle. It was like an installation art piece. I was raised by MTV. And if you're in my age group, I remember when MTV first came on the air. We were one of the first in the neighborhood to get cable. And that channel is the main thing I watched. Yes, in my church, there was often messages of maybe we shouldn't be listening to secular music or watching MTV because it was of the world. But that's what I watched every night. There was also this show late at night called Night Flight. Does anyone remember Night Flight? It was, they showed music videos, but they also played like weird B movies late into the night. And anytime I would stay at my friend's house, we'd stay up and watch Night Flight or MTV. And I loved it. MTV. I remember watching the first season of The Real World in New York City in like 1990 or something. Yeah. You had to be there, I guess, because I get very nostalgic about old MTV. I loved to watch music videos. I was there through the whole evolution of from like mid 80s Madonna pop music into when like hair metal took over. Do you remember when almost every popular song was either like Whitney Houston or a hair metal band singing like a big ballad with like explosions going off behind them, and they were like in spandex, like humping their guitar and singing a prom song. Those were the days. I miss MTV.
You are listening to the Call Kevin podcast.
If I could go back just 1 year, I would tell my 42-year-old self that going through the psych evaluations will be worth it. Because when I was raised as a pastor's kid in a super fundamentalist Baptist church when it was the 90s, I was the kid that Satan constantly attacked. Over and over, I needed to confess my sins and pray for Satan to stop making me be a defiant child. To listen better, be calmer, sit longer, lower my volume. I left religion at 18 when I left home. And it's not Satan. It's not me being a failure. I have ADHD. My 43-year-old self and her Adderall are the happiest we've ever been. I was never defiant. I was neurodivergent.
Yeah. I also had a thought not too long ago. I remember there was more than one person who did this kind of thing, but I remember there was one person who could like sense demons. And so they'd walk into a place and then they would make everyone pray to cast the demons out. And looking back now, I'm like, oh, those weren't demons. You have social anxiety. You know, like that you feel scared or something when you walk into a room of people. Yeah, it's not the devil. It's social anxiety. I have a video where I told a story where a fairly famous Christian singer came into our church and did that. And I remember he walked into the room where the concert was going to be and immediately was like, this place is full of demons. And I remember we were all like, oh my God, because it was our church, you know? And so he made us all get in a circle and cast demons out of our own church building. And I was very conflicted because they were a very famous Christian singer and everyone in the room was just like obeying and going along with it. But I was both angry and confused about why this was happening because I'm like, there's not demons in our church. But now, with some, that some time has passed, I can look back and remember, yeah, that person just needed some medication, man. They needed a cocktail. They needed a gummy bear.
This is really cute. What a cute idea. I came from your video about like intentionally seeking you out. And so, Kevin, did it with the twang.
All right. That was an example of you can really call in and say anything that you want to. I don't really know what the direction of the show is yet. Like I said, this first one is going to be rough. I'm feeling it out. I got a ton of messages about so many things. Of course, a lot of people talked about their church upbringing or something, because that's a huge part of my story. But I don't necessarily want this to be a show that is about that. I mean, it can be sometimes, but we can talk about whatever you want, you guys. I also made all these little sound effects that you're hearing. I did this one. It was the 90s. I did that one right in the middle of that last call. Sorry about that. Let's listen to another message.
Hi, Kevin.
Oh, Jesus.
I think you are amazing.
What's that? What was that sound at the beginning?
Hi, Kevin. I think you are.
Did that person inhale something? Okay, here we go.
Hi, Kevin. I think you are amazing. I relate to you so much because I was also in a super fundamentalist youth group in the 90s. So I think your material is really funny. And I remember when Amy Grant put out a secular CD, and we were all shocked and horrified, and we didn't know if we could listen to her anymore. And it's really a shame about Sandy Patty getting a divorce.
Oh, that's too bad.
Shamala hamala.
I have said this, and I'll say it again. That Amy Grant album, the Sinful one, is really good. Heart in Motion, that's got some good songs in it. You remember Baby Baby, of course. But what was the... every heartbeat belongs to you. Yes, that is good. It's good music. Was there a question in there? Were we just reminiscing about that era? That goes back to that secular music thing. In my youth group, it was always about music. Like, you shouldn't be listening to this music. And yes, when Amy Grant put out that album, everyone was just losing their minds about what a big deal it was. But no one ever made a big deal about movies or books or TV shows. I remember one time a group got together in someone's house to watch a movie, and the movie was Die Hard. And in that movie, I think that's the only time I've ever watched it, but there were a lot of F words all through the whole movie. And I remember sitting on the couch, everyone in the room was from my church, and watching Die Hard, and I started getting upset because I'm like, we always are making a big deal about music, and no music had the F word in it back then. And we're all sitting there on the couch watching Die Hard, watching Bruce Willis say the F word over and over again. I was like, we are hypocrites. But I didn't say anything because I was scared. I'm drinking, sorry for the noises. I have 2 beverages. I have an iced beverage on my left. Today I've chosen just a simple Pellegrino. And on my right, I have a hot tea. It's Constant Comment with a little bit of milk. I'm sweating a little bit because I had the heat up a little too high in my house. I just turned it down. And I put on this outfit that I think is made of, it doesn't breathe. It's very comfortable, but it's locking in all of my heat and juices. So I'm sort of, and I'm in it now. We're recording the show. I'm going to sit here and marinate. All right. Let's, am I blasting through this too fast? It is what it is, I guess. I'm learning as I go.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
Hi from Brazil, and I would say don't eat your emotions. You're already fat, bitch.
Oh. Wait. I forgot. I needed to set that up. She wasn't saying that to me, or I don't think. I gave a prompt shortly before the holidays on my recording thing, my recording button on my website. And I asked people to tell me, it was sort of leading up to New Year's Eve, of if you could go back in time 1 year and tell yourself something, what would you say to yourself? So I got a ton of messages, and we're going to hear some of those. But that was one of the messages. They weren't telling me that. They were saying that to themselves a year ago.
So a year ago, I was 43 years old and about 8.5 months pregnant. And I was thinking, I'm going to do so much better as a mom than I would have if I had had my baby in my 20s or my 30s. I think I would go back and tell myself that doesn't mean you're not going to mess up, and that's okay.
Oh, that's interesting. We do sort of imagine ourselves as we get older doing things better or wiser, or we've kind of learned the lessons of youth. But I bet nothing prepares you for having a baby. Like, no matter what age you are, you're probably going to make similar mistakes. Who's ever ready for that? I don't want a baby. I'm also 51 years old, so I think that's not something I'm interested in at this point in my life. I used to say that I wanted kids. No, that's not true. I never said that. What I would say is, if I met someone who wanted kids, I could be persuaded. But I think that was also a lie. I don't think I ever wanted children. It's just a thing that as a human being, you're supposed to want. But I never have. I applaud those who do. Thank you for creating new humans. Humans are sometimes great. But man, I can't imagine. I can't even get my laundry done. I don't know. I don't know how people with children also get their laundry done. You guys are heroes.
Hi, my question is, are you in love? We are about the same age, and I don't know if I'm going to be in love again, and that is sad. Are you? If not, you still have hopes? I don't know.
Is that the end? Oh. That one has a lot of layers. I know what he meant. Like we're the same age. Is it still possible? For those of you who watch beyond my auto-tune stories, I often make a lot of really personal videos. And some of you might know that last year I went through the biggest breakup of my entire life. It was someone that I was with for over a decade. We were both, we both met right when we were about to turn 40, and now we're both a little over 50. And we decided to call it quits. And it wasn't heartbreaking. That's not the right word. It was like monumental because of all these life things that you don't even see coming maybe at a younger age. But I remember feeling like this is what's about to happen. We're accepting that this is about to happen. We're accepting that this is the best choice for both of us. And there was this constant feeling of like, am I really going to do this at 50 years old? Am I going to start over at 50? Oh my God, can I do this? It's it's still hard to describe. I mean, some of you know, if you've done something, a big, huge life upheaval like that. So, I mean, I moved out of my house. I packed up and moved to a different city. I went back and got my cat, who's still asleep over there on the bed. And I remember feeling like I don't ever want to do this again. Not out of like bitterness or it's just a bigger life thing. Like I don't know if I can do this anymore or if I even want to do this anymore. Like I like being alone. I like being by myself. I love having my own space now that I'm in my own house. Whoopi Goldberg was quoted as saying something to the effect of like, when she was asked if she would get married, and she was like, I don't want anybody in my house. And I so understand that. But then I met someone. And let me tell you, when I met someone here in Cincinnati, my ex and I of 10 years, even though we've officially separated, it's been a year and some months ago now. But even before that, there was a very long period of time, like years long, where we weren't connected anymore. We were living in the same house, but we weren't really emotionally, physically, anything together. So, do you know what I mean? So I think it's a pretty common story. If you're with someone long enough, things change, and sometimes they fade. And that's what happened. So even though officially I just moved out a year and a half ago, it feels longer than that. Anyway, so I met someone, and even when I met them, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in a relationship. I was in a 10-year relationship. I've just moved into my own place for the first time. I don't want anything. And then life has its own plans. So am I in love? Yes. Is it good? Yes. It's like unexpectedly exactly. He is exactly who I need right now. And maybe for a long time. We'll see. When you get older, love and relationships, it's not real cut and dry, is it? When you've been through it enough times, it gets very nuanced. Am I in love? Yes. Do I believe in love? Well, yeah, I think I have to. And I am going to believe in love for you as well. Let's see, a new call here. Oh, here we go.
Hey, sweetie.
Hi.
I've been watching you for some time. I hope that things are okay. It's really tough being queer now. I know. And I hope that everything is good for you. And you're in my thoughts. Bye.
Who? Everybody listen to me right now. Especially if you're LGBTQ plus stuff. Yeah, the world is real weird right now. The thing that I want to say into this message also, it can easily feel like hope is lost. Or from here on out, you're never going to have happiness again. Because, when it feels like the world is against you or the world is turning against you, it's scary. I don't want to play that down. Yes, it's scary. But I remember sort of coming of age in the 80s. I don't want to say my sexual awakening because that sounds creepy, but like my teenage years when I was like coming online as a human and all those feelings and thoughts was the height of the AIDS era. My high school years were 1988 to 1992. So everything I was starting to learn about relationships and sex was not only through the filter of a church who absolutely did not accept that at all. In fact, that was kind of the worst thing you could be. On top of that, AIDS was in like full swing. And it was scary. Like all the messages I had around sex were scary and shameful and all that stuff. I remember when I went away to college in the early 90s, it was like right before things got more progressive on television. So yes, we had MTV, which was the most progressive voice I had ever heard, but it was before Ellen, it was before Rosie, it was before Will and Grace. And I remember even when I showed up at college, it felt like there were no other gay people. It was like a state college of 25,000 people, and it was like I'm the only one. It's kind of how it still felt. And there weren't a lot of affirming voices. It was very alone feeling. And sodomy laws were still on the books all over the country. It was illegal to have gay sex. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was even some places where like you could go to prison for a long time if you were convicted of sodomy. That stuff was on the books. I feel like that wasn't like federally taken away until like 2003. And definitely you could still get fired. Matthew Shepard, bad stuff for queer people in the world. Yep. And also, even through all of that, I have so many memories of having fun and laughing and being full of like joy and happiness. I remember going to a gay bar in Indianapolis for the first time and having the time of my life, even though it was the country's climate was pretty much against gay people. Like the wave of acceptance that really started in the 90s hadn't quite happened yet. So in some ways it was alone and scary, and it was illegal and you could go to jail. And I had a blast. And I know there are stories of people even older than me, when it was even worse, of finding their communities and having a blast and creating good memories and creating lots of moments of joy. So the thing I want to say, I guess I'm getting kind of preachy, but it's my podcast. I'll do what I want. You're still going to have joy. In fact, you should seek it out all the damn time through whatever era comes next. No matter what laws they make, you still exist. No matter what they write on paper, you still exist. And you deserve happiness and you deserve joy. Even if you have to go into your friend's house and hide or something, find some joy. It's kind of the biggest act of resistance is through the stuff that we're living through politically or whatever. I think one of the biggest acts of resistance is to keep giving yourself happiness and finding those moments. Don't let the bastards get you down.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
Actually, this is a good moment for my commercial. This episode is sponsored by Strings for Hope. This is a company based in Nashville, Tennessee, where I used to live. And I know of them because their studio is in the same building where my old studio was. And it's a really cool little thing. It's a charity organization, and they take used guitar strings. I remember they always had these big barrels of people would donate their guitar strings in Nashville. So there were a lot of guitar strings. And they make jewelry out of the guitar strings. Really cool looking jewelry. But there's even another layer is they bring people in and teach them to make this jewelry. People who are victims of domestic violence or substance abuse or a range of things. They give them a place to work. They teach them a skill. It's really a cool thing. It's Strings for Hope. I'm going to read this little blurb. Strings for Hope is a survivor-led organization that has dedicated the last decade to making a positive impact on the local Nashville community. By upcycling secondhand musical strings, we create job opportunities for individuals overcoming substance abuse, use disorder, domestic violence, and human trafficking. At Strings for Hope, we believe that economic opportunity is key to disrupting cycles of abuse and exploitation. Whether survivors seek long-term employment with us or view it as a stepping stone toward their goals, we provide a trauma-informed workplace with ongoing training, assistance, and dignified wages. Our products embody the spirit of Nashville, kind, creative, and deeply musical. We take pride in contributing to our community and transforming the lives of survivors within our city. You should go to stringsforhope.com and have a look at some of their jewelry. Maybe grab a piece for yourself. It's really lovely stuff. And they're really great people. And I think you're going to like it.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
Hi Kevin, my name's Gemma Havlin. So it was the 90s. I'm from the UK and I was at church camp, and we were all sat in a room. We were on like an Easter retreat, and we were all sat in this room, and I was sat behind Jesus on the cross, and then the priest said, I can't remember what words he said, but one by one, everyone in front of me was all getting up and going kissing this Jesus cross. Now I couldn't see what they were doing, why they were doing it. So it gets to kind of my turn. I'm one of the last people to go, and I get up and I go and I kiss Jesus on the cross with his thorn crown on the head. And I walk out, and then for the whole rest of the retreat, everyone kept saying, "Why did you do that? That was so inappropriate. You should have kissed Jesus' feet." And I was just so embarrassed for the whole rest of the Easter retreat. But yeah, that was my little story. Love your content. Bye.
Oh, that was adorable. Isn't it weird, the things we do, especially to kids? Kids don't know. You can kiss Jesus on the forehead. There's no inappropriate, well, I guess there are any inappropriate places you could kiss the Jesus statue. What if you went up and kissed Jesus's nipple? Oh man.
Hi Kevin.
Hello.
I would have said not to myself last year, but to my husband when he brought the kittens to the house for my 40th in December, to politely take them back to where he got them from.
Oh no.
Because he didn't do his research.
What?
Don't know if that's a husband thing. And they ended up having feline dermatitis. So by Christmas time, we were all very itchy, possible ringworm.
What?
My daughter was losing hair.
What?
We all had to go on medication.
What is
for
happening?
Multiple weeks and get blood work done.
The people?
And wasn't really gone fully out of our system until after Easter of this year.
I don't understand.
Happy 40th to me.
Once
Merry Christmas.
the cats had dermatitis and your daughter's hair fell out? What? I don't understand. I don't understand what that means. I don't even really know what to say about that. I'm dealing with my own cat issues. My cat Comet has colitis, and I'm working very hard to heal him. I finally just I had to get special cat food, and I don't know why. The vet didn't send me out the door with a prescription. They just gave me some samples and were like, see if he likes this. And he does. And I went online to order it. It was like, oh, you have to have a prescription. And it's not medicine. It's a can of chicken, but you have to have a prescription for the chicken. Anyway, my cat's now eating prescription chicken.
Hi, Kevin. I am Karen from Tennessee, from Nashville specifically. And I just want to say that I wish I could be back 1 year ago. My mother passed away in January, and she had had health problems for a while. And I just had a gut feeling that Christmas was going to be my last with her. The day before she went into the hospital for the last time, we had a family get together, and I hugged her, and I just had a gut feeling that was my last time. And I wish I had hugged her longer. I wish I'd hugged her tighter, and I wish I had told her I loved her a little bit more. And that is my advice for anybody, is to never take a day for granted, and to tell those that you love them lots, and to show it as much as you can. And thank you for giving us this platform to share. This Christmas is super hard for me and my family, but we are doing the best we can. And we're going to try to remember her the best that we can, because she always made Christmas so special for all of us. Thanks, Kevin.
I had that same moment with my grandfather the last time I saw him. I remember as I was saying goodbye, he just sort of like grabbed my hand and just gave me this look. And it was immediate. I was like, oh, this is the last time I'll see him. And he knew that too. And he had this look in his eye of like he was trying to like drink me in or something through his eyes. And man, isn't it, it's sort of one of the complex things about a human life is we all know it's going to end. You know, we all know that everyone's days are numbered. And so like you have to like live with that in the background of like the people you love eventually won't be here. Someday you won't be here. Someday every single person that you know will be gone. And your memory will sort of drift off of planet Earth. It's like, sorry, I didn't know I was going to get like this during the show, but you know, we're going to cover all the bases. You live with that in the background, you know, and it's like every time you see someone that you love or do anything you love or anything, it's like you want to enjoy it, but you also can't be like, this might be the last time, like every time, because it could be the last time, but that'd be a weird way to live. So I think we always have, when it finally is the last time, you remember, how did I act? Did I give it enough time? I should have given it more time. I should have hugged them longer. I should have said something, but you didn't know. You never know. When's the last time? We're just doing the best we can.
Hi. So, what I would say to myself 1 year ago is you don't have to eat all the food.
Yes, you do.
For some background, I had a ruptured brain aneurysm in January of this year. And when I woke up in the hospital about 5 months later, I was so hungry. I ate so much food. I couldn't stop eating food. And now I am 30 pounds heavier than I was pre-aneurysm. So what I would say to myself is you don't have to eat all the food. I was just so hungry. I thought I had to eat it all. Every food I could find.
Okay, but you know what? You're alive. You're a lot. Yes. Who cares? Eat the food. I remember in this. I'm sorry. This hasn't. I'm going to make this about me now. I'm glad that you recovered. Can you imagine waking up 5 months later? That's wild. And I had never thought about you haven't eaten. I mean, they've been feeding you in some way, but you haven't like eaten food in 5 months. What does that feel like? Well, I guess she just told us it makes you want to eat all the food. I remember in college, I was 175 pounds maybe. And now I don't weigh myself anymore, but I think I'm probably like 225 now. I'm 6 foot tall. People always say when they come to my shows that they think I'm so tall, which I'm not. I'm 6 foot tall. But I think you just imagine me small because I'm on you see me on a little screen all the time. But I've always been a larger person. I've always been on the thicker side. But when I was in college, that was like my skinniest. And I was a theater major. And I remember, the 90s were different. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me say that again. The 90s were different. It was the 90s. Especially around the idea of food and diet. Do you remember it was always like Slim Fast, Atkins diet, and like it was the supermodel heroin chic era. So we were cruel to ourselves about our bodies and our weight. And as a theater major, I remember thinking I needed to lose weight. I was 175 pounds. I mean, so like, and I'm 225 now. So what's that like? I'm like 50 pounds heavier than I was in college. I've never really did that math before. And I actually like the way my body looks now. I don't even really remember what my body looked like then. I feel like I'm in my skin now. My doctor thinks I should lose some weight, but what does she know? I don't know where I was going with that. Eat the food.
Hey, sweetie.
Hi. Oh, we listened to that one already. Oh, we're going off to the next page now. Here we are.
Kevin, long-time listener, first-time messenger. I was just thinking today about how long I have followed you, and also thinking about the similar journeys that we've had. I grew up in a small town, and the first kind of cool people I met were all part of this Bible study. It was all the punk rock kids, and they're all in this Bible study, and it was so like, it didn't seem like the thing that I would be into, but it was all the people I wanted to be with. So I just started going to that, and I quickly realized, not as quickly as probably I should have, that I really liked those people, but was not super into the Jesus stuff. But that didn't keep me from going to a Petra concert or two. And those were also the same people that I did theater with, and, people that, and the people that I made friends with through theater later, were my first friends who were queer. And the people that introduced me to great music and to experiences that, I wouldn't trade for anything. So I often think back to those weird Bible study days, and they kind of coincide with also my love for the Smiths and The Cure and Depeche Mode and New Order. And then they also kind of make me think about my first friend to come out to me who had gone to Bible study with me and later told me how creepy and weird it made him feel, where he was still figuring out his sexuality, but didn't quite know how to talk to me about it. But me taking him to that was like a red flag at first, until he realized that I loved him dearly as a friend and supported him regardless. Anyways, I want you to know how important you've been, and how fantastic it is to have somebody my age who shares their story in a way that's that not only feels very similar, um, but also is unique in its own way. I am currently waiting for a lung transplant, and I've had a lot of time to think over the last few years of being. I had leukemia, and then I had some lung disease, and so now I'm waiting for this lung transplant. And I've just had years to spend thinking about life and time and the past. Yeah, and you've been unknowingly to you part of it all, part of this journey. And I just want to say thank you, and hope you're well. And if you're ever in Chicago, I'll do my best to come out and see you. Last couple times I haven't been able to because I've been in the hospital, but I'll do what I can next time. Okay. Yeah. Take care.
Well, first, I hope that you get that transplant soon and that you fully recover. That was I hadn't really thought about, that was a lot of specific things that I think more people experience than I realized. The whole like punk rock Jesus thing and people sort of just discovering sexuality. It wasn't a thing we really, it's both. So I wanted to say people weren't really talking about sexuality, not like we do today. Yes, of course, like we hear stories of like in my church, it wasn't accepted. The only times people spoke about it were in a sermon in a very negative way, usually. But it would be like a part of a Bible verse and the pastor would go off for a few minutes and everyone would be like, amen. And I'm sitting there like, oh shit, everyone around me would hate me if they knew the truth. But then you didn't really hear about it again in daily life. Our teachers weren't talking about it, not in 1990. And so you'd hear about it in church and it was scary and bad. And then you'd also hear about it from your punk rock friends who went to see Rocky Horror. We had this theater called the Ross, and I loved to go to the Ross. It was sort of off limits for Christian kids because it was like, they had punk rock concerts and they showed Rocky Horror and lots of sinful things. But all of the alternative and punk rock kids would go to the Ross on Friday and Saturday nights. And my dad knew the owner. It was a movie theater. They played like dollar movies, late run dollar movies like RoboCop and Turner and Hooch. And then after the movie, a punk band would play. And then at midnight on Friday, Rocky Horror would play. And it was my favorite place to go to. And it was this weird collision of that and Christian kids. And like 90s youth groups were always trying to like have a concert to draw the youth in. And there wasn't a lot to do in my town. So it's like a big youth group event and people started putting punk bands together because there were so many kids at the Ross. So maybe we could like lure the punk kids to church. And I think that happened in a lot of places. It's very specific and nostalgic for me. So in the same way that you feel a connection hearing my story, I just felt it hearing yours. So thank you.
Hello, Kevin James Thornton.
Hello.
My name is Lisa, and I've followed you on TikTok for a very long time, since the beginning. Just watched your video that was in code so the robots didn't catch on, and I am now successfully following you on all the platforms. And now I'm getting to leave this little nice message to you. You might find it interesting to know where your followers are from. So I am Scottish. I was born in Scotland, but I have been living in the Isle of Man, which is a tiny little island in the middle of the Irish Sea. I've been living there for 20 years, and that is the power of TikTok. Your content it's all over the world. So yeah, keep going, my man. Love it. Bye.
You might not know that in last year I did 2 little trips over to Europe. The first one was just a handful of cities in the UK, and then they brought me back a few months later, and I did shows in Helsinki and Stockholm and Dublin and in Berlin and Paris. And I like my show. I mean, they all had at least a couple hundred people there, but like my show in Helsinki was sold out. And it still blows my mind. I don't know that I've fully comprehended that I've been to places all over the world, and like a couple hundred people will show up to watch me say it was the 90s. It was the 90s. I am grateful and in awe. It blows my mind. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. That's all. Thanks for reminding me how cool I am.
Hi, Kevin. I love your videos. They really entertain me, and I find you to be very interesting. And for your project, the story I want to share is basically that I've been in a relationship for 15 years. And my partner has this very kind of stable, healthy attitude towards relationships. And I am kind of like burdened with trauma and past bad experiences and all that kind of thing. And I've grown a lot living with this partner, but at the same time, I've had to learn on my own that, sometimes you need to do the George Costanza method of just doing the opposite of what comes naturally to you. And sometimes that's the most liberating thing, because it turns out that can be you. And what I mean specifically by that is I have this tendency to like really want and need to be close to people, have these healthy relationships and things. But once I get in them, it's very scary to me. I tend to pull away and withdraw. And that's very hard when you have a partner who wants to be close to you and wants to be good to you. So for years and years and years, this would go on, my partner like expressing that, there's this disconnect. And I just thought that was just me. I felt like, oh, I'm just misunderstood. Like, I wish you could just accept me for who I am. And it's like, that's not really who I am. That's who trauma made me. And I started reading about this a little bit in the last, few months. And there's all this literature out there about how you just do the opposite of what you would normally do. And it's been amazing. Like I get into an emotional situation, and instead of pulling away, I like go to my partner. Like it's this thing where I'm really upset, I'm really worried about something. That's when I tend to withdraw. But then my partner's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, nothing. And I'm dealing with it on my own, and I'm withdrawing from my partner, which is now difficult also on my partner. But I can just go over there and like touch my partner and like hug my partner and like not even like ask for assurance, just like do the thing that like is the exact opposite of what I would normally do, which is just withdraw. I can go over there and say, hey, I'm hurting. And, or just like seek out that like connection. And I guess what I would just tell myself in the last year is that you don't have to do it on your own, and you can change. That's all. Thanks. Sorry, this was 3 minutes long.
Yeah. I am Gen X, and we didn't really have words like trauma or therapy. Those weren't really things on anyone's radar. And I guess I should first make a disclaimer that I am not a therapist. This is a podcast, and I'm a comedian. So don't do anything that I say. It took me a long time time had its way with me. And the things that I experienced that gave me some trauma when I was younger, I eventually worked through. I could have got there a lot faster with therapy. You know, I could have got to the good place a decade sooner probably than I did. But we didn't have concepts of therapy or, doing something positive with your emotions. Let's see. I think that is all the time we have for today. I think that went pretty well. How did you guys feel about it? Please go to kevinjamesthornton.com. Record a message for me. It could be about anything. Still figuring out that. And check out my tour schedule. Going to lots of places in 2025. Please come see my show. All that information is on my website, kevinjamesthornton.com. Anything else I want to say? Oh yeah, sign up for my email list while you're there as well. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
It was the 90s. It was the 90s. It was the 90s. It was the 90s.